And now, back to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod.
Hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. I'm Dylan Weaver.
And I'm Bunker. That's the name of my imaginary friend growing up.
Oh, well done, Andrew.
Thank you.
I did not have an imaginary friend.
I mean, I can't say I'm surprised. I felt like I kind of got one. Well, we'll get into it.
We can. Dude,
you want me to talk about it now?
It doesn't matter.
Okay, we're talking about it now. I felt like I had a imaginary friend out of obligation because my older siblings had imaginary friends around my age, and they would always talk about them and everything. And then when it would get to Andrew, it's like, oh, Andrew has what's his imaginary friend? Oh yeah, Bunker. Mind you, my only exposure to the word bunker is at that time was for trash. Like, that's where we keep the trash on the side of our house in like a little like kind of wooded.
It was called a bunker?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Okay.
Parent decision.
Okay.
But yeah, no.
Sure.
And
why not?
Thus, that was the name of my imaginary friend, who I had affection for. Still named him after the place where we keep our trash.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? There's a Teen Titans superhero called Bunker.
Really?
Who was famous as being like one of the first original characters created in the DC universe who was gay.
Oh. Wow. If that ain't telling, huh?
Yeah, in the year of our Lord 2011, which
a little late.
Yeah, but
hey, maybe it was inspired. I mean, that was after Bunker had his time in the sun. So
okay, so you're saying they stole Bunker from you?
No, the spirit of Bunker moved on. I think.
Okay.
He's a freelance imaginary friend, I didn't want to hold him down. I got to the point where I had real best friends, and yeah, just sign that little NDA and send him on his way.
He didn't want to bing bong him?
No, I could never bing bong Bunker. Send him into the abyss. Oh my lord.
Oh. Yeah, so my brother is 2 years younger than me.
Uh-huh.
So I do not have memories prior to him existing.
Fair.
And I think that reduced the necessity of an imaginary friend when you had an actual friend who was always there.
Yeah, that's fair. And age is, again, so close that like...
Right. Like, I have another brother who was 6 years younger than me, and he wound up having an imaginary friend.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But I never needed one.
No, you had a sibling.
Right, I had a sibling, and I also, as this episode seems to insinuate, imaginary friends happen as a result of change in the life, which hopefully child psychologist Andrew can chime in on. But debunker? But I never moved, so there was no need for an imaginary friend for that reason either.
Wait a minute, when did you move? You said that you did move.
I mean, like I didn't, I moved, the first time I moved, I was 13 going on 14.
Oh, okay.
That is not,
yeah.
Like, I grew up in one house.
Yeah.
And then my parents moved to another.
Okay, that's fair. Okay. I wasn't sure as to how old you were when that
yeah, no. Not young enough that it, like, I did not grow up in the house my parents own now.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow. That's so funny because that house feels like it's always been your house, even though it hasn't been for that long.
Yeah, but I mean, you didn't know me prior to middle school.
No, certainly not.
So, yeah.
No.
Didn't even know me prior to like high school. Like you, yeah.
No. When I was in middle school.
When you were in middle school and I was in high school, you knew who I was because I was the cool older kid who everyone liked, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you were the youth pastor's favorite or up there, so yeah, it just... And yeah, you always had a gaggle of platonic female friends, which was always very exciting for me because I like older women.
Right. And I wasn't dating them, so...
Nope.
Made them fair game.
Certainly. That was 100% my intentions with my best friend's older sister.
Former guest on the podcast. Yep. We'll let you guys connect the dots. Yeah. So, right. It's...
What episode are we talking about?
I don't know, Bunker. What episode are we talking about?
Bethany's Imaginary Friend. Episode 428B.
Yeah.
428B for the layman.
Crazy, right? It's so it is directed by Phil Lawler. It is written by Lissa Halls-Johnson.
Okay.
Lissa Halls-Johnson has 2 episodes credited to her. It's this one and it's episode 430. Which is a Blind Girl's Bluff. Pretty good episode in my recollection. Yeah. Maybe we'll Dylan's Choice it sometime. But that is that's one of the ones we have. However, she is notable for being a Christian author outside of this.
Interesting.
So she wrote a series for Focus on the Family called Brio Girls, which Brio is their like girls magazine.
Yeah.
But then there was I guess there was a a fictional series that they just used the same branding on. And has written some other stuff as well. Most notably, so in 1982, she published her first novel. It's a book called Just Like Ice Cream. And it is a book about it was a quote-unquote bestseller. It was not a focus book. It was actually published by Tyndale, but it makes sense that she then went on to Focus.
Yeah.
It's a girl who is pressured by her boyfriend to have sex under the guise of it'll be just like ice cream.
I haven't tried that one. I can say in all honesty, I've shot my shot in many a way in my time.
It's never reminded you of ice cream?
Never. Well, I mean, not in ways I'm going to say on the internet.
But yeah, so that's that. And then, right, of course, because she's a teenage girl who has sex, she does get pregnant.
Yep. Cool.
And then the rest of the book has to deal with that.
With the teen pregnancy.
Right.
That's just like ice cream.
Right. But there are some great... I encourage you folks to go and read the reviews on Goodreads. I'll link it in the show notes. But there's just a lot of people. It's a flip-flop of people being like, boy, was this like traumatic and messed me up. Or, wow, I still have love for this thing all these years later. But the best are the people who were like, they gave me this book to read because it was supposed to discourage me from sex, and it did not. I found this very, very enjoyable as a child because of, like, the classic, like, ooh, this is, like, naughty book that, like, deals with, like, adult stuff. And so I, a child, am very into it. This is coming from myself, who my parents, as a form of sex ed for me growing up, bought 2 books on sex, both from the local Christian bookstore.
Love.
A more academic one and a fun one.
A fun book!
And they asked me which I wanted, and I said, of course, I do not want the fun one. I want the serious one, which I read, and then proceeded to sneak in and borrow the fun one to read as well, just because I was like, I don't know, maybe it's got different content. It didn't, but I read them both.
They got you. Well, and honestly, as like when you're raised in like the media diet situation where like sex is incredibly taboo, where it's like, should you even let your children read the word sex before the age of 13? You know, to certain extents with certain people, it's so funny how backwards the results are, and like how exactly where they gave you educational stuff that was literally just like catnip to you because it had sex involved even a little bit.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I would like to read just a couple other names of her books.
Oh, sure. The other thing I wanted to say before that is I think that sort of like the tabooness or whatever of such things is also like the reason that I was like super drawn to Novacom or whatever as well, or like any Odyssey that had a parental warning.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly,
because it's that same thing of it's like, oh, they're talking like this is content that I wouldn't get to consume if it was secular, but it isn't, and so I can.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it's like, you know, I might not be able to watch this movie on my own, but anything I rent from the, you know, church library, I can watch on my own.
Yeah, anything.
And so
Passion of the Christ.
Well, and so it's not like there was anything that was like super scandalous, but it just speaks to that greater thing of where it's like I don't know, I feel like we naturally gravitate towards the edges of whatever we are allowed to do, regardless of, and I'm like the quote unquote good kid, firstborn, rule follower, whatever. And I was still just like, yeah, but like I'm curious and I want to like
insatiable.
know the things that I don't and like enjoy the things that like I'm told I shouldn't.
Yes.
And so like that, it's just it's very funny, but it's like I don't know, if the reins are tight enough, the smallest glimmer seems exciting.
Exactly.
And so we get like people who had their sexual awakenings to just like ice cream.
Amen. Or Disney's The Robin Hood with Sexy Fox.
That movie is great. I don't know that I'm particularly attracted to either fox.
I wasn't as a child. Since watching it as an adult, I'm like, oh no, that is a hot fox. I don't know how they did it, and I'm sure it wasn't intentional, but eyebrows.
Sure. I was, you know, much more like a Fantastic Mr. Fox kind of fox, you know, Felicity Fox.
I don't think that I ever really had anything for the maybe the mom.
That's Felicity.
Bit. Oh, that's Felicity.
Agnes
okay.
is the kid in
one.
the yeah.
Not attracted to child foxes, just adult ones. Andrew Sabo.
Look, I was also a child.
What?
I said I was a child. So
true.
Anyways, you want to read off some other book titles from Melissa Halls
that
Johnson?
would be delightful. If I will. Searching for Normal. Opportunity Knocks twice.
Is that Knocks with an X? Because I think Focus is doing that one as an Odyssey episode.
Nope. It's CKS, unfortunately. Yeah. We've got Bad Girl Daya, which she's holding a graduation. Like she's in a graduation gown and she has a diploma. So interesting conflict. I feel like you're telling too much. When Stars Fall. Okay, cool.
When Stars Fall.
Grasping at Moonbeams. These titles feel exactly like the like airport trash section of the Target bookstore, where it's all like very like mass-produced, poorly written romance novels.
Sure. The but you're a horse of it all.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, you've seen the but you're a horse cover, right?
Well, I thought you were talking about the Big Mouth bit.
No. Okay, I will also be linking to the David Bussell book, But You're a Horse, in which this is happening. which is just my favorite internet meme of like trashy romance book,
Yeah.
in which a very human-looking horse
Muscular
is holding a
horse.
woman.
Awooga.
It's like
Give
what
that
if
boy an apple.
what if a centaur just had a horse's head, not a on a human torso,
Yes.
a reverse centaur. Anyways,
Truly, Lisa Halls Johnson contributing in mighty ways to a section of the literary world.
so yeah, so that's who wrote this episode. Which I think is just funny, where it's like, I don't know, she was just like it's during this weird writer shuffle that we're going to be talking about a lot during Adventures in Odyssey, and they were like, hey, what if you came in and who write for like other parts of this place and wrote a couple episodes for us? And she wrote an episode and a half and then bounced. But
Oof. She realized her strengths were elsewhere.
yeah, you know. Is this episode weak? We'll get into it.
Yeah, we will.
Cast-wise, we just have the Shepherd family and Connie.
Yep.
Played by the people who play those characters. I don't know. We're going to be playing it fast and loose for split episode summer. I don't know that we're going to talk too much about cast unless it's someone really interesting.
Yeah.
If it's just kind of house players, we'll assume that we've either covered them or someday will.
Yeah, certainly.
I don't need to spend, half of our episode getting into the depths of characters who are on, in my ears for 10 minutes.
10 minutes, yep. And again, I think that is the theme that we will experience with these episodes.
Yeah, like it's fun to talk about like actors and context and stuff. One, when they're like notable names who are coming in, but two, when it's like we're gonna follow these characters over like the course of an arc, and we're gonna be talking a lot about like the actors' voice performances episode to episode. And,
Exactly.
I love having that level of familiarity when we're doing like one-off half episodes. It just doesn't matter to me.
No, not at all. Not to me either. And I doubt the Chalk Squad are particularly itching for it.
Yeah. Like I want to be able to put my focus on the
family.
I was gonna say on like the writer director, like what's going on behind the scenes during this
Production
era.
family.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. That's very interesting that Lisa Hall Johnson was the one who wrote this episode, because it doesn't feel like an Odyssey episode, really.
Yeah, I mean it does and it doesn't. I would say the characters all feel very true to themselves.
Yes.
Like she at least has an understanding of who these characters are, what their dynamic is, all that stuff. It's also probably early enough in the Shepherds that maybe this helps shape them a little bit, where I think this might be this is literally it's the second appearance of Bethany. It's early on in them being in town. This is the album essentially where they get introduced.
Okay.
This is Aubrey's fourth episode. Like it's literally, they do opening day, which is the whole Timothy Center thing where like the Shepherds are introduced, and then they do Blacker's Revenge, and then it's this. And I would say the Shepherds in general have, because they're new characters in this timeline, and because I think Bethany is a character who is very much developed to appeal to that younger demographic that this episode or that these split episodes are trying to appeal to. We're gonna get a lot of Bethany through this.
Yeah, I guess
of the
Shepherds, but specifically Bethany. Like I don't think that it really gauged for me until now, like how much how important she was to this era of the show and these like couple albums. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
it seems like they give her a decent amount of work compared to
sure,
historical.
sure. It's the weird thing of like she's the like Aubrey gets to be the one person who is in like she's in Blacker's Revenge and then all the Novacom stuff.
Yeah.
Which is like an interesting thing. But yeah, she's very much like we're getting that new cast of kids, and Aubrey is the new Connie in a lot of ways during this era.
Yeah.
And we talked a lot about the parallels between Connie's stuff and Aubrey's stuff with Under the Influence and whatnot. And she is like she's the high school kid during this time when like we talked about the like last episode about Alex being introduced, Alex and Liz, and they're like the middle school kind of stereotypical Odyssey people. Yeah. And then Aubrey gets to be the older kid. Bethany is this younger kid. The
like
Shepherds.
The new Donna, I feel like.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But with that added element of being rebellious and not really being a Christian initially and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you get like the Shepherds are like the closest thing we have to an Odyssey family during this era, which I think is maybe the bigger point to make, where it's like we later will get into some Strasbourg stuff because you and I talked extensively about that, but like there's not, and like the Washingtons are like they don't show up till after Novacom. Yeah. Like this is the Shepherd era of the show in a lot of ways. Even if they're not they're not as large players as the Washingtons would go on to be, or as the Barclays were before, obviously.
But it's cool that they get to be so involved in such, important parts of the show for us. Like both Blackbird and Novacom, and you get to see the development there, and the way that it's kind of tangentially set up to progress as the greater, world-ending plot progresses is cool. I like that.
Sure. And we've talked about I know we said we weren't really going to be doing cast, but I feel like it is an interesting thing worth mentioning with Jerry Hauser being here, of like he is he's Jellyfish in the Blackbird stuff.
Okay.
And Jerry Hauser doesn't have that much of vocal range, in my opinion.
No.
Like, his Ben Shepherd is very similar to his Jellyfish. And there was, 3 or 4 years of the show in between there where you can get away with that sort of thing. But because of us doing this, I was like, oh, that's right. I totally forgot that he plays both those characters, and like very much so.
Yeah. I feel like his Ben Shepherd is like his normal speaking voice, and then he was like actually trying to do a little bit of a character for Jellyfish.
Yeah. I think Jellyfish is a heightened version of this. Yeah. But yeah, they're close enough.
They're very close.
But yeah, that's kind of what I've got context wise. You want to talk about the episode itself, Andrew?
Certainly.
Oh, you know what? This should be something that we do explicitly during this series, though. Talk about the ratings on the wiki.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because we will hit what I believe, unless because the team had it there became the lowest rated episode, but for a longest time it was one of these split episodes that we'll talk about later. But this one has a 72% with 29 votes.
Yeah.
Last week's episode, while we're here, had an 86% with 53 votes.
Interesting. That feels backwards.
Really?
I felt like I liked this one more.
Yeah. Neither of them are good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Both of those ratings seem high, especially the 86.
Yeah, no.
But
this feels like a 70%. I mean, like if 100% is the best Odyssey episode, and, we get close to that very rarely. This is like 65, 70. I mean, 70's maybe a little.
Sure. I'll give it a passing grade.
86 is definitely too high for the Eternal Birthday, which was 10 minutes of the, 4 scenes, but it's just one scene over and over again.
Yeah. So yeah, we start out with Bethany comes bursting into a room where Aubrey is.
She's reading, I bet.
Yes, Aubrey is reading. The episode written by an author centers around a girl who is reading.
Trying to read, desperately.
Right.
Shocker.
Very
Projection
funny.
much?
But also, I was very much a kid who read. So
yeah, there you go.
Like when I was Aubrey's age,
totally reading.
just a book guy.
Just a book guy. Wow.
Yep.
That went by the wayside in like middle school for me.
Nope. I was a book guy, I don't know, even through the end of high school for sure. Even going into college, I was still reading a lot.
So, are you going to transition to audiobooks or do you have
podcasts?
Podcasts, okay.
You don't need audiobooks when you have podcasts. You don't need books when you have films.
Fair. All right, fair.
The views of Dylan do not represent Dylan.
Yeah, serious.
But
no,
yeah,
I definitely get that though.
I'm a guy who wants to read more. It's just anytime you give me another option, I take it.
Yeah, exactly. My thing about audiobooks is that I love to listen to them before I go to sleep. So like that's what I've been doing a lot for, I want to say like the last year and a half or so.
Yeah, when I enter my bed, I just want to be asleep.
I want to be asleep?
Sure.
Does not happen.
Yeah. Former insomniac Dylan Weaver. I feel like I've done pretty well with that in
Good job.
recent years, but used to be way more of an issue.
Really? Where you just like couldn't fall asleep?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
But I got it unlocked now.
Yeah, just gotten into a good pattern or like what worked?
Who knows?
Puberty? Puberty worked?
No, I was well after puberty that I was like, yeah.
During the time of the podcast?
Probably not.
Okay.
There's a pretty big gap between puberty and when we started the podcast, Andrew.
No, I know.
That's like 10 years. Maybe not quite, but like...
Well, you said it was happening during high school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how long after you graduated did we start the show? Like what? 3 years? 2 years? You were done with...
Yeah, 2.5.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I was still dealing with it. I feel like I haven't dealt with it heavily for a long time, but I do forget we've been doing this podcast for
a long time now.
So maybe. Anyways, Bethany bursts in and says that Aubrey needs to come out because Belinda's trapped under a log.
Well, no, she says it's an emergency.
Right.
And then she comes out and explains that Belinda's trapped under a log.
Right, but Bethany doesn't know who Belinda is.
No, Aubrey doesn't know who
Belinda is. Aubrey doesn't know who Belinda is. I'm going to keep doing that, aren't I?
Yeah.
Aubrey doesn't know who Belinda is, and so she thinks this is an actual person trapped under a log.
Okay. I thought that she
rushes out, and then once she gets out there, realizes what's going on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is that Belinda, or Belinda Darling, as Bethany is fond of saying.
Which is adorable. I don't know. I like kids.
Put me down as not a fan. No, yeah. It didn't feel like a real child.
No.
Belinda Darling.
Yeah, no.
Just does that reads like
mom.
Yes. Yep.
Totally mom.
Yep.
But maybe.
Sure.
Maybe she got it from her mom. Yeah, and Aubrey is very frustrated because she was interrupted and refuses to play along. Acts like, oh my gosh, like you're playing pretend. Like what are you even doing? I'm just gonna go someplace else. And Belinda apparently starts talking to Bethany about Aubrey's fashion and is very upset, and they're, kind of collectively teaming up on Aubrey. about, her not wanting to play and her jacket clashing with her pants or something.
Right. Aubrey being the only person who can hear Belinda gets to be the vessel by which, Belinda's insults are experienced. Then we cut to Aubrey has climbed up in a tree to read a book, and she's hoping this will be a way to escape out in Tom's apple orchards, which sounds delightful,
right? Yeah, must be. Yeah, I feel like reading in a tree might be quite difficult. I'm much more under a tree.
I feel like when Dylan was the same age as Aubrey, they would have gotten along.
Definitely.
Like that.
And I would have shipped it.
Cool. So she's up in a tree reading a book, and then all of a sudden, Bethany shows up, and her and Belinda are hanging out in the orchard, and Aubrey's like, "Oh no, I can't do this again. I can't do this again." And then Connie comes out, and she's like, "Oh, thank God, Connie's here. She's gonna put a stop to this."
Yeah.
And instead, Connie is just is a good adult figure who plays along with this kid's imaginary friend bit.
Yeah, of course. And Aubrey is just so confused that this is, never happened before or whatever. That's the thing. It doesn't really feel like a great Aubrey episode.
No, it's not.
It doesn't feel very realistic for her character, I will say.
Yeah. I don't know. I get the older sibling with a big gap just not wanting to deal with the
pretendness of it all.
Yeah.
And the embarrassment.
Right, yeah. Right. But and also you're trying to get away from it all, and this, I had once again, older brother, younger brother, 6 years younger, had a long time where he was a pest. Where it's the primary relationship with this person is that they are annoying, is that they tag along, is that they intrude when I don't want them to.
Yep.
I am, whatever. I'm 13 and this little 7-year-old punk keeps coming into my room while I'm reading a book, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, and wants to play with your Legos or something.
Right, or just be annoying.
Yeah.
That general sibling perception of you don't actually want to do anything here, you're just trying to annoy me. Which maybe was true sometimes, but also probably.
Yeah.
Probably probably he had better intentions than that.
Maybe.
I don't know. You're a younger sibling. Sometimes you just want to annoy your older siblings.
No, because I never wanted to upset them, honestly. Yeah. I really, for the most part, but Brennan was, he's 7 years older than me, so it was a bit more, him and his friends were very clearly trying to act more adult, and I was, obviously 7 years younger than the teenagers, so I was 6 or 7. I'm so you guys want to play Legos? And they're like, no, leave. What? Why? No, I'm with my friends. Leave me alone. I don't want to hang out with you right now.
Right.
So I would say that's probably my closest experience to this.
Right.
But I definitely picked on my younger sister a lot more than I've really felt like I annoyed my siblings.
Sure.
I love Grace, but I've definitely
Past and future guest.
Miss her. She's on the other side of the country right now. But yeah, I definitely and with her it was more it was just me and her in the house, and I'd be like, hey, I'm feeling rammy. Why don't you stand here and I can push you onto this pillow and it'll be funny for me and for you, right? And that was a lot more of the kind of sibling annoyance stuff that I did.
Sure. Yeah. What? Yeah, Bethany just has Aubrey just has no patience for this, and just leaves upset again. And Connie's like, "Oh, I didn't see you up there. Well, we can be quieter." And she's like, "No, I'm out of here." And then goes off to the barn where she decides to climb up in a hayloft and do some reading.
That sounds nice.
More
I
than-
mean, my allergies would kill me, but I would absolutely love that. That sounds very comfortable.
So yeah, she's she's up there, and once again, Bethany comes in with this time with her dad, and Aubrey's finally like, all right, Dad's gonna talk some sense into her, and then he just plays along, and Bethany once again does this thing where she uses Belinda as this proxy to compliment her dad.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, well, very like, thank you, whatever. It's like, it does feel. I sympathize with Aubrey's perspective of this feels very manipulative.
Yeah.
Like, does Bethany knows what she's doing and is just trying to like have a vessel to be mean to me?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. That's fair. That's
and
fair.
like suck up to my parents.
Yeah.
Or our parents, I guess. And yeah, I don't, once again, I do not think that's what Bethany's going for, but I understand the perspective of Aubrey.
I mean, she might.
Look, I'm always going to sympathize with the older sibling. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah. No,
My best friends are older siblings.
My best friends are older siblings. Well, they're not the oldest, but one of them is. Yeah, so Dad plays along. I think they get on a horse. They take a horse out.
They do take a horse
and
out.
they go riding, which is fun. And there's, Aubrey's up there sneezing in the hay, all frustrated, like, oh my gosh, oh, this is annoying. Oh my goodness, And yeah, I mean, it's a fun bit. And then she goes to the pantry
Yep.
to hide and read.
Yes.
And this, is this episode written like a letter or like narrated like a letter? I think it might be.
Does Aubrey?
Because isn't it beginning
No,
where she's like,
she does not.
oh, I was doing this, and then all of this happened? Because I feel like at this point she narrates the fact
don't
that
think
she's like the snacks were there and stuff.
I didn't think it was narrated. I thought she just talked to herself.
Oh, maybe that's it.
I think
She's
it's just like the clunky audio drama of let me say this thing to myself.
Okay. That makes just as much sense. Yeah, she was saying like, oh, I moved to the.
Because I don't think it's not written with any sort of like thinking back over this thing fondly.
No, yeah.
We maybe get her, or like she's definitely not narrating it from after the fact.
Yeah, exactly.
We might get some internal monologue, or we might just get her verbalizing it, but it's not her like looking back on a thing.
Like, oh my gosh, today this happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the ways that we've definitely talked about with Odyssey, where they like write letters or they do journal entries or whatever.
Right. Or they life in the third person.
Oh, we love a life in the third person.
But yeah, Bethany then of course comes into the back pantry.
Needs the cookie cutters for Play-Doh.
Yep, which
Classic.
Aubrey is mad about because she's like, you hate using cookie cutters with Play-Doh, which is a hilarious like
Sibling
specific.
thing. Yeah,
but
yeah.
is another good thing where it's like, yeah. So it like gives support to where Bethany's like, yeah, I do, but Belinda wants to use them, and I'm willing to concede to her. And I'm like, okay, this is funny. I guess this is how imaginary friends work. I do not know. Or is she just looking for a way to, like, she knows that she has the perception of hating to use cookie cutters, but secretly she's like, I'd love to give them a try, and so she's just like,
That
this
might
is a
be
way
it.
to do it. I don't know how active of an agent Bethany is in this because I don't understand. I didn't have an imaginary friend. I don't know to what extent you are self-aware at this age.
Well, I guess how old is Bethany supposed to be? Isn't she like 6 or something?
Probably.
Yeah.
I would ballpark her as.
She's definitely self-aware enough to understand that it's not real. It's honestly like my child psych analysis of the situation would be that she's looking for attention. Like, this is clearly, I didn't think about it until covering the episode, but she's always showing up where Aubrey already is. And that feels not coincidental in the sense that, like, she's playing, she wants the attention, she's got her imaginary friend, and maybe, you know, the person that she wants to play with the most is Aubrey, and she understands that Aubrey doesn't want to play with her right now and whatever, so she's playing with her imaginary friend. But the person whose affirmation she wants the most is Aubrey's, because she is that older sibling and that preferred like playmate.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I can buy into that.
I don't know. It's interesting, but you do raise a really good point, and you know, it's with children, it's such an interesting situation because their development is not, their mental development at a young age is not displayed physically, you know, because mental. It's so hard to gauge, like, what behaviors are appropriate for a certain age and, like, what, in certain circumstances, and then as to what point is it like, oh, this is bad, this is inappropriate, you're seriously regressing, or you're not progressing in the right way. But, like, the explanation we get at the end of the episode, which we're getting to, makes it make a lot of sense as to why this is happening.
Yeah. So yeah, Aubrey kind of explodes here.
And, to her mom.
Yep. And is like, I'm going to call a family meeting. And her mom's like, no, absolutely. Well, actually, yes. Yes, I think you should call a family meeting. Which, I'm interested in. Family meetings, to me, only feel like a thing that exists in Odyssey.
They should exist more, in all honesty.
It's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know, I guess Focus got this right or whatever, but like the concept of family meeting is something I'm only aware of because of Odyssey.
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
Like there's even that, when we've talked about it before, but like the bit where like the Barclays have family meetings and then like adults get like 2 votes to their 1 or whatever. And so it's like, it's this funny thing where I'm like, there was no illusion of democracy in my household.
Yeah, no, there was no illusion of democracy either.
Like
a
the
family
idea,
meeting was gather together and listen to dad.
right. Like the closest thing we ever got to a family meeting was like, I don't know, getting yelled at over dinner. Like, that paints my parents in such a bad light, but I'm just like, there was no collective decision making. There was no, like, we didn't have a say in things as children in this formalized way. I'm sure they listened to our thoughts and asked for our individual input sometimes on things.
Yeah.
And like, if I really wanted to go to X museum when we were on this trip, they'd make it a priority. Like, it's not like...
No, it wasn't like you were neglected, but you just didn't have to, like, formally file a complaint.
Right, like, but this like, whole, like, there was no structure for it.
Yeah. No, 100%.
And it's like every family in Odyssey has this.
Pretty much.
Like the Barclays do it, the Washingtons do it. Here we have the Shepherds. It just feels like this
explanation.
Well, but
or exposition, I should say.
Sure, it might be the exposition element, but I also wonder if this is just not like they are fundamentally called focus on the family, and regardless of whatever else they have going on that sucks, like they do seem to care, like they are focused on quote unquote parenting your kids right.
No, and there's a lot, like the amount of intentionality that is pushed
right.
The amount of intentionality that they put in the way that they raise their kids, I think, is admirable. You know, obviously I've expressed the directions that they go are not, you know, particularly ones that I agree with, but I think it's, you know, at the very least, it's admirable that, like, we want to have open communication to a certain extent and continued communication between families, because they also stress like family prayer time and couples prayer time and everything like that, which those are like really, you know, cool, important things that I think, you know, develop family relationships. it feels like it feels like a apartment, like a loft meeting in New Girl, show you haven't seen, but you know, like a bunch of adults is kind of the vibe that I get from Odyssey, and the way that they portray it, with the exception of the Barclays and their 2 votes thing. But this, it sounds like there's an established, we have family meetings, and then Aubrey comes into Planet. Mom's like, no, we don't, this doesn't need a family meeting, which would be my initial response. And then she's like, oh crap, well, she's old, she's got to have the autonomy to be able to do this. Okay, go for it.
I read her as being extremely passive aggressive. As being, oh, you want a family meeting? We'll give you a family meeting.
Okay.
Like, you're calling this because you think Bethany's out of line. In fact, you are out of line.
Okay.
And we are going to show you.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense as to what happens.
Yeah. That is my read on it.
I read too optimistically to the mother.
Not to disagree with you.
No, you're fine.
But yeah, so she shows up for the family meeting, which includes Connie for some reason.
So bad. Feel so bad for Connie. Never want to be in those situations.
Yeah. Where I'm just like, right, I know Connie, like, they work together, like her and the Ben and... What is Mrs. Shepard's name?
I don't know.
Oh no. I wanted to say Eileen, and then I was like, nope, that's Elaine, which is...
Ellen.
Is it Ellen? Really?
It's literally
interesting.
Ellen.
And they go from Ellen to Elaine for the Washingtons.
Wow, really mixing it up, huh?
Okay. All right. So we got Ben and Ellen, and it's like, they work with Connie, whatever. So it's like there's that weird. I don't know. Connie's in a weird place dynamic, or like a weird relational dynamic always. But I'm like, I don't know what they're going for here. But regardless, Connie, Bethany, or Aubrey walks in, and she goes to sit down, and she can't sit there because there's an imaginary friend, and basically everyone has shown up and brought their imaginary friends.
Yeah, it was Belinda and Cornelius were the 2, because Cornelius was added later, like as a friend of Belinda or something.
What? No, it's each adult has their imaginary friend.
Okay,
I believe
that.
I forget what all of their names are, but it's like each of them introduces who their own imaginary friend is. From like, it's assuming it's the one that they grew up with, but it might just be, hey, we're just making up somebody here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Connie has one that is confusingly named Alex, which is a bad idea when literally the previous half of this episode introduced a character named Alex for the first time.
Yeah.
In the show. And so they clearly just didn't... both teams writing these episodes knew the name Alex was on the table, and they could create a character with that name, and they both did it.
That's unfortunate.
But yeah, so Connie's got Alex, and someone has Cornelia or Cornelius, I forget. The dad has someone, and then we've got Bleeble.
Bleeble is
can we just acknowledge Ben Shepard saying "Bleebs, my man" is
so
the
funny.
best.
So funny.
It's the time I think he sounds
Bleebs,
most jellyfish.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Bleeble
shows up, but he's just like, "Bleebs, how's it going, dude?"
Ben. He's just a great dad, honestly. Ben Shepard, underrated.
How's
dad.
it going, buddy? I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
They're explaining who Bleeble is to the audience and trying to jog Aubrey's memory. And at one point, Connie's like, I like your... We find out that he's a space alien. And Connie's like, I like your yellow spots. And Aubrey's like, purple. They're purple spots with green antenna.
Yep.
And it's just like, she's finally like, she breaks and she's like, all right, cool, I'll play along with this. Like,
Yeah.
I'm fine with being, you know, a friend.
Yeah.
too.
Well, and understanding that it's like, and we kind of glossed over it. So basically, you know, they just moved to a new space and or a new place, and it's really normal for kids to have imaginary friends when they lose all of their friends from an old place. Like they're, you know,
Yep.
not super quick to make new relationships, especially if they're not terribly outgoing kids.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and then like Aubrey really then understands it, and that's when they bring in Bleeble, and Aubrey's like, oh, okay, yes, I am no better. She's my sister. Like we all have our imaginary friends, and Connie's playing along, and everybody's playing along. Like I'm the one that's not playing along.
Yeah, right. It finally clicks for her, and then right, she also gets to, like, yeah. I like the idea that her imaginary friend was a space alien named Bleeble.
No, it's incredible. It's top notch.
Like it's very funny, and yeah, it's
Unlike my anthropomorphized trash house.
man. Imagine if you had just named him Trash House.
No, that's gonna be my rapper name. Duh.
My bad.
Bunker the Trash House.
No, Trash House. Your first album's called Bunker.
Ah. Okay. Like that.
Up to you whether it's an album or a mixtape. I don't know. I'm not hip with the rap lingo.
I don't know what the kids call an album these days.
But yeah, there's this interesting bit where, I think it's Ellen talking. It might be Ben, but says, we were both a little bit concerned about how we should handle this as Christians, but Tom and Connie assured us it's not a big deal.
Oh, yes.
Which is such a funny, like, we're new Christians. I don't know. Is this like D&D where it's satanic for our kids to imagine things?
Hey, new season of Stranger Things. Yeah, no, yeah, it was really funny, and I totally didn't write that down, but I noticed it when it happened in the episode as like, wait, what? They were worried about this?
I don't know.
Like from an existential,
it's
spiritual point?
But it's that funny thing of it's like, they're new Christians, and there are so many rules where it's just like,
I don't know.
Am I stepping on a landmine here?
Yeah.
Is this not okay? Better go talk to like my mentor and Connie and find out if what we're doing's cool.
Yeah, no.
Which is just it's just such a funny thing, but it's kind of sweet. And yeah, that's where we go out. Aubrey,
That's the episode.
Aubrey is reunited with Bleeble. Becomes more chill.
Every
with
time
Bethany.
we swear on the podcast, can we just have it say bleebs instead?
I'll just cut that little bit. I will literally cut Ben Shepherd saying bleeps. It's
What
pretty
the-
good.
See if you cut it in.
But you should actually swear if we're gonna do that.
Oh.
Bleep. Now use it in a sentence.
Oh, bleep is a complete sentence. No. I'm pretty hungry.
Wow, got him.
Got him. Bleeps. Bleeps, my man. Oh, goodness.
yeah.
And he comes from the planet Glork.
Glork.
Which is very Calvin and Hobbes. Like, I know,
Yeah.
it's like Gorks and QX something or other.
Yeah. Good imaginary friend. I was trying to think of famous imaginary friends. Hobbes is an
Hobbes
iconic
is top
one.
notch. I guess
His
Snoopy
buddy
doesn't
Shaw
count.
is okay.
I'm not a fan of Shaw.
Not a fan of that movie. The only Fast and Furious I've seen, Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw.
I have not. Oh goodness.
I watched it with past and future guest friend of the show, Arthur Woods.
Really? That was. I would have guessed Adam Deckard. Like,
Nope.
interesting. Had you seen any of them?
Had Arthur seen?
Yeah.
He loves those movies.
Oh, that's surprising, actually.
I agree. But far be it from me to tell a man what content to enjoy.
Yeah. There are people listening to us talk on the internet.
It's true. Yeah, and
Other famous imaginary friends. What am I missing? I feel like there's so many.
Yeah.
I mean, Winnie the Pooh's essentially an imaginary friend, right?
Good point. And Tigger too.
And Tigger too. Tigger and Roo. Imaginary friend.
But I feel like, I don't know. There's probably like an imaginary friend episode of Arthur. Like this feels
totally.
very
much. This feels like a very Arthur episode
right.
of
Well,
Odyssey.
it's the Aubrey Bethany are a very good like Arthur DW corollary in that regard.
Definitely.
Like the annoying younger sibling like plays out very nicely here. But I don't know. You got anything else you wanna say about the episode, Andrew?
Oh, not particularly. Oh man, there was something really like I was excited to plug, and now I'm forgetting. Goodness. Oh, I know. Imagination. I'm plugging Imagination.
Wow.
Big fan of Imagination. If you see a kid using it, reward them immediately. Give them anything they want.
Cool.
Imagination is a dying art, and it is the foundation for our critical thinking skills as adults. Okay. So, very important that kids have imagination.
And I am plugging Manipulation, Imagination's dark cousin.
Amen.
Shout out to our coverage of the video series in which we talk about not Dr. Blackard's Manipulation Station.
Yes. We do love to see it. Both very Doctor Who-esque, and obviously the opposite of what Jesus would want for us.
Right. You said that with so much sarcasm. I'm like, yes?
Yes. Manipulating people? Yeah.
No. I think that is pretty opposite what Jesus would want for us, Andrew.
Based on my understanding of the Gospels,
I'm pretty comfortable with saying that statement.
Theologically, I've come down very hard on anti-manipulation.
But yeah, that's what we've got here, folks. Mm-hmm. That's the episode. That's the conversation. I think that's the plugs. I don't think I've got anything I feel like adding to that.
No, certainly.
So yeah, then next week we're going to be talking about episode 431, Where There's Smoke.
I'm so excited. Bye, guys.
Bye.
WadFam Chalk Pod is a presentation of the Lidditz Podcast Co-op. This show is a fan podcast and has no official affiliation with Adventures in Odyssey or Focus on the Family. As such, the copyright is ours under Creative Commons. Follow the podcast at WadFamChalkPod on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com. Bethany's Imaginary Friend was hosted by Dylan Weaver and Andrew Acebo, and edited by Dylan Weaver. And I'm Nathan Haverstick, hoping you'll join us again next time for more of the WadFam Chalk Pod.